Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in
soft when I like somebody. The rest of y'all get this gangster shit, bitch.
To the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there. Pull it up. I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Where do we even begin? Well, let's begin actually where we left off last night. Last night, we were essentially told not to believe our own eyes. Well, since then, guys, the FBI has come out and they have confirmed, thank goodness they confirmed, that yes, Trump survived an assassination attempt. Because in case you missed it, Joe Biden came out, gave us 2 minutes, and he communicated that they weren't sure whether or not it was an assassination attempt. They were waiting for facts. So let's not rush. Let's not rush to any conclusions. And that is the perfect place to start, you guys, because that's where we are at right now in our society. That final instruction, not to believe your own eyes, not to believe your own ears, to wait until the authoritarians come out and tell you what is real. That's actually where we are, specifically in Western society. People go with that. I will guarantee you that a part of the population went to sleep last night and said, we don't know if it's an assassination attempt yet. We should wait to find out. We should wait until our government confirms. We should wait until the FBI, the most corrupt government organization that's plausibly ever existed, lets us know that it was, in fact, a failed assassination attempt. Well, guys, as I said, it has been confirmed. Another far-right conspiracy theory has come true. Wait, we'll get to the headlines. They were making fun of Tucker when he said this. Tucker's pushing this conspiracy theory that Donald Trump may be assassinated. I don't know why he would say such a thing. Well, constant headlines because he's been under attack ever since he's been free. It's almost every day now. They just keep attacking Tucker. They keep attacking me. Keep attacking every person who's coming to you and saying something very evil is going on. People that have the courage to call what we are seeing, right? And I have been saying it. They are going to try to kill Donald Trump. Donald Trump better choose his vice president very carefully, because if they suspect the person he has selected is someone that they can control, someone like a Nikki Haley, there is no reason that they would allow him to live. And some people don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the reality of how evil our institutions are. But guess what? The time for fear is over. You have to face this reality because it's the only way that we're going to be able to move forward. And one of the things that we're going to do here is we're going to name the shooter. I know there's a lot of organizations and companies that say we shouldn't do that because that's what they want. You know, they want to be known. They want their name to be remembered. Let me tell you something. I not only want this person's name when this stuff happens, I want to know everything about that individual. I want to know what they ate for breakfast. because we have to confront evil. I want to know what sports they were involved in. I want to know who their friends were. I want to know the last message they sent. I want to know who their parents are. I want to know what their parents do for a living. And especially want to know whether or not their parents have had anything to do with the United States government. Because that detail is very crucial. I want to know what drugs those individuals are on. That's the one thing they never tell you. Which pharmaceutical drugs are these shooters, all of them in the past, and this current shooter, are they on? Because it tends being that, it seems to be the case, that so many of them are suffering from mental illness and are on drugs, but we're not allowed to have that conversation. Well, today we are going to have that conversation. I'm going to tell you why Big Pharma is always the most important part of the equation. So first, let's recap, guys. Let's get into this. Obviously, everybody by now has seen this footage. We're going to show it to you again just to recap the events quickly here. Last night, while Trump was speaking in Butler, Pennsylvania, shots rang out. I counted about 8 to 10 shots. You guys can count here. We are going to show you again how exactly and when exactly that went down. Take a look.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Now, to be clear, a lot of people have pointed this out. Brandon Tatum, another fellow commentator, pointed out that Trump turning his head may have saved his life, right? Because we know that his ear was clipped. I know there have been conflicting reports. Yesterday, as information was coming out, some people were saying that his ear got clipped by glass from the teleprompter. Trump himself has said that he was shot in the ear. And if we have more up-to-date information or if that transforms, we will let you know. But he turned his head, and gratefully, it looks like only his ear was grazed throughout this incident. And beyond that, in a moment that we will never forget, of course, Trump stopped the Secret Service from sweeping him off stage so that he could stop and signal to the American people, in all of this confusion and all of this craziness, having just survived an assassination attempt. It was his priority to signal to the American people that it was going to be okay. Take a look at Trump. That's just incredible. That will give me chills forever to realize that. I don't think you understand what sort of a strength that takes. I would be so terrified in that moment. I would be sprinting off stage, and he's feeling blood coming down his neck. He's feeling blood. He realizes that he's been shot in the ear, and he goes, wait, wait, wait. Because what's more important is that the American people know that we are going to fight and we're going to win. And unbelievably, he says fight, fight, fight. We're going to show you later. The news agencies, rather than reporting on this in a respectable manner, have said, he shouldn't have said fight, fight, fight. No, he shouldn't have said that. That is the real crime here. Not that he just survived an assassination attempt from another Looney Tune, but that he said fight, 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 because, I don't know, maybe that could have led to another insurrection. Anyways, you guys, I want to show you this close-up of his ear because that has been made available. Do we have that, guys? This is a close-up of Trump's ear. I think that we just showed that again. And more importantly, this was drawn up by the Daily Mail, a map of the stadium. If you are watching this, take a look at this. This is unbelievable. And by unbelievable, I mean you should not believe it. Look at the lower half of the screen here where it says 4, okay? Yes, the shooter's name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. I'm going to tell you all about him momentarily. But it is showing you on this map where he was, okay? Where he was, where the Secret Service sniper was, and where Trump was standing. To be clear, just 150 yards away from the stage. A direct line of eyesight to the Secret Service sniper, okay? Like I said, this is unbelievable. Looking at this map, it is unbelievable because it should not be believed. You should not believe that all of this happened because of a remarkable failure in intelligence. I refuse to believe that. I'm not going to be deluded by anybody's press conference. I'm not going to be deluded by the insistence from all of these media mockingbirds that all of this happened because it was just a remarkable failure in intelligence, is what they always tell us. No, I don't believe that because I know better. I know the kind of evil that we are fighting, and we're going to get to all parts of that. So let's first jump into everything we know about the shooter. The shooter has been identified, again, as an individual named Thomas Matthew Crooks. Last name, I guess, appropriate in this scenario. And of course, the first thing that people are saying is that he looks like a soy boy. And you know what? I'm sort of recognizing this as a theme. Why do all of these shooters look alike? They have the same look in their eye. Do you know what I'm talking about? They all look like the would-be shooter in all of these situations. And I'm talking about in the past, school shooting situations. They all have a certain look. So can we throw up a photo of, here's Thomas Matthew Crooks. Okay, this looks like a school picture of some description. And I swear I've seen this person over and over again in other school shooting scenarios. I'm thinking mainly, by the way, of a Connecticut shooting situation, because that's where I'm from. And they just all have a similar look in their eyes, in my viewpoint. Now, guys, you're not going to believe this. Here's what they're trying to actually sell to us. This is really what they're going with, because, of course, they need to fashion this so it doesn't look like leftist violence. They're saying he was a registered Republican. Yeah, people are making jokes. A Republican tried to take down Donald Trump. Now, is that true? Is that true? Was he a registered Republican? Was this a person, a conservative? Well, I'll let you decide after I put together a picture for how he lived the last couple of years of his life. So to be clear, Thomas Matthew Crooks had never voted in a presidential election, had never voted ever in his life, because he only just turned 18 2 years ago. So what we do know about him is that just before he turned 18, and this is in 2021, when he was just 17 years old, he decided to, on Biden's inauguration day, to make a donation via Act Blue. You guys know that political action committee that raises money for left-leaning politicians. Yes, he decided to make a donation to Act Blue, just $15. That is a fact, by the way, that has been confirmed by the Federal Election Commission filing. So the donation was earmarked for the Progressive Turnout Project, which was a national group that rallies Democrats to vote, and they were obviously working on getting Joe Biden elected. Okay, so this person, factually speaking, in 2021 was a Biden supporter. Now, strangely, later that same year, he decided to register as a Republican upon turning 18. Those facts make sense to you? Do those facts align now that we know that he then decides to try to assassinate President Trump, that he was financially supporting Biden, he was putting together a plan to assassinate President Trump, and they are going to try to convince us that he was a Republican? Nope, that seems too perfect. Now, they have reached out to family members in the Crooks family. He graduated, Thomas Crooks graduated in 2022 from Bethel Park High School. His uncle, Daily Mail was able to get in touch with him, his name is Mark Crooks, has said that he has not seen his nephew or his nephew's parents in years. He describes them as quote unquote, very private. I don't like that. I don't like that a family member, an uncle, would not be in touch with his own brother or his own sister. I'm assuming here, since he has the same last name, but it's his brother, in years. That instead of being in touch with him, he just knows that they're extremely private. Up to what? What is it about this family that we don't know? He said, quote, "I haven't seen that part of my family in years." Again, this is Mark Crooks, the uncle to the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks. He continued, "Honestly, it's been so long, I don't think much about them." Okay? He says, "It's a shame. The kid is like a stranger to me. They are private and they don't reach out to anybody anytime. I'm flagging that as immediately odd, extremely odd." Now, during the attack, despite the fact that we know that he not only supported Biden by making a donation of $15 via Act Blue, but also he supported him by trying to take out, via an assassination attempt, Donald J. Trump, it appeared that he was wearing merchandise during the assassination attempt, promoting YouTube's most popular channels that are devoted to firearms, a channel known as Demolition Ranch. That's what NBC News is reporting, that he decided to wear that day a Demolition Ranch, I don't know if it's a t-shirt, I don't know if he was wearing a sweatshirt, but it is one of the most popular channels devoted to firearms. That does not seem almost too perfect. Almost seems like he's just giving them a narrative there of like, oh, people that like firearms are bad and they're crazy and they're backwards. Now, his father, Matthew Crooks, 53 years old, has spoken to CNN, and he said that he was trying to figure out, quote, what the hell is going on? He was going to wait until, quote, I talked to law enforcement before speaking out publicly. Now, what that signals to me immediately is that this family is not Republican, because a Republican family would not answer or give a quotation to CNN. That is a fact. Trump supporters would not, under any search situation, would they accept a phone call from CNN and offer them a quote, least of all saying that I'm going to wait until I talk to law enforcement before speaking, primarily because we have lost a lot of faith in law enforcement. We don't trust the FBI. We don't trust the FBI to tell the truth. So again, I am flagging the family as immediately suspicious. Everything going on here is immediately suspicious. What have we learned since last night? Because a lot of stuff was coming in. We got some stuff wrong. I think we got the majority of the stuff right. But what we did learn, unfortunately, is that a member of the crowd was in fact killed in a deadly shooting while 2 others were wounded and are in critical condition. Last night we thought it was just 2 people that were shot. It turns out it's a total of 3. One of them is dead, has lost his life. 2 of them are in critical condition and they have been wounded. All 3 of them are males, according to law enforcement officials. I hope that all of you take the time today to pray for all of these families, because while so many of us are obviously very happy that Donald Trump survived this assassination attempt, we should not forget, we should not lose ourselves. We should also recognize that last night there are people that lost their family members, that they are dealing with that reality today, that 3 men went to support Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, and they are now, 2 of them in critical condition, 1 of them is dead. That is absolutely awful. And again, I did give up my prayers today at Mass. We also learned that last night a bomb squad and agents from the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, Firearms, the ATF obviously, were at an address that was registered to the Crooks as the cops stood guard in front of yellow police caution tape. And as an update, everybody was expecting Donald J. Trump to arrive at the UFC fight. He did not. He actually landed back in New York, where he lives, in, I believe it's Bedford, where he lives. And I'm sure that he is processing a lot of emotions right now. I'm sure maybe in the back of his mind, he never thought that it would get this bad. Maybe he didn't take people literally. Maybe he himself thought it was a conspiracy, the idea that they would shoot him in broad daylight. But maybe he did question whether or not they would ever get that desperate to do what they did to JFK, because our government killed JFK. That's the reality that no one will say to you because nobody has any courage anymore. Everybody lives in fear. Our government murdered a Catholic president, John F. Kennedy. He was shot and killed in broad daylight. Maybe Trump thought, hey, that's the 60s. They could never do something like that today. They could never be so bold as to do something like that today. People got smartphones. People could put together the narrative faster than the mainstream media mockingbirds. And last night, he learned that he was wrong. You know, this is a good time to pause and also to reflect on the fact that Donald Trump, when he got into office, he accessed the JFK files, because obviously it's been a mystery for decades. Who shot JFK? Oh no, it's all locked down. Trust the Warren Commission report. And whatever he saw scared him. It scared him. He didn't want to talk about it anymore. He recognized a real danger that actually scared him when he opened those files. He said, when I get in and become president, I'm going to tell you who shot JFK. And then he didn't tell us who shot JFK. Maybe because the implications were too heavy, but the American people already know who shot JFK. Our deep state shot JFK. That is the reality. And there's much more to that reality, by the way. We're going to talk about that later because there's more updates that have come out. Obviously, everybody is going, what the heck is going on with this Secret Service? Okay? You're supposed to tell me that this is supposed to be the most intelligent, the most prepared security apparatus in the world, right? And they failed. They failed to secure the premises. They failed to even secure 150 yards away from where Donald J. Trump was speaking. Do we believe that? Are we supposed to believe that? Well, don't be a conspiracy theorist, guys. No, actually, be a conspiracy theorist, because the conspiracy theorists are telling you the truth. What they are trying to tell you is that common sense is a conspiracy now. Common sense is not a conspiracy. Common sense tells you that something else went on here, that this was coordinated, that people knew what was going to happen, and that common sense, if you were already sensing that that could be a reality, it was all but confirmed. All but confirmed when a bystander, who I'm going to show you right now, basically said, I was flagging my hands. I was just shaking my hands in the air saying, hey, this guy's got a gun, this guy's got a gun, this guy's got a gun, and essentially being ignored by both the police and the Secret Service.
You missed that! We don't miss those! Come on, man! Fuck! We don't miss those! One shot at greatness! To be mentioned in the history books! And you missed the shot? Fuck! What fucking shit?
Throw it in the pool. It's not a mistake. It's done on purpose. The low-level Secret Service, it's not their fault. They followed orders. No one is on 4 rooftops, 450 feet away.
Who is giving that order? Who is telling them don't be on the rooftops, do you think? If you had to guess.
We know that,
right.
We know.
Okay.
That is the senior advanced team of the Secret Service.
And that is that there's a name.
So the senior
this woman, I forget her name. She's testifying. The Republicans have just called her to testify in front of Congress. I forget her name, but she is the head of the Secret Service. Do you know her name, Alex? I'm forgetting her name.
Yeah, it's another one of these diversity hires. So
right.
we saw a bunch of women with guns didn't protect Trump, but it's beyond that. The number one thing, if you study the Secret Service, this is all well known. It's in all the Secret Service movies, but it's the default. Any rooftops within a half mile you clear and you have people on top of them. It doesn't matter they didn't have enough Secret Service. You put cops on top of the roofs that nobody can do that. Instead, about 2 minutes before Trump gets shot in the ear, there's video of this. It's all over X. They clear everybody out from behind Trump as they hear dozens of witnesses have been on the news that said there's a guy with a gun on the building.
Right,
so they run around for minutes going, yeah. There's a guy, exactly. There's a guy on the roof with a gun, and they sit there and fumble and watch, but the local SWAT teams waited, and they're on their radios with their guns trained on him, and they're like not told to take the shot. So there wasn't just a stand down, not putting people on top of buildings, which is the first thing you do. That's where the shots come from, not up close in every case, 95% of the time. They then have got, it's all on video, the shooter, as he's up there with a rifle, crawling around and getting in a pro position, and they're told to stand down for about 2 minutes. So we're talking about 120 seconds. This is like a lifetime. Because in real situations, you got a shooter, you got a guy with a gun, you blast him. So everybody having a debate about and hearings and why this happened, that's all a distraction. So moving on from that. Trump beat all the fake impeachments. He beat the Russiagate. He beat the fake civil cases. He got found guilty, but nobody bought it. They were popular. He got convicted in the New York show trial. That gave him an extra 10 points. In real national scientific polls that are being conducted, and I've talked to the Republican Party that's doing these, Trump's about 25 points ahead nationwide. In mainstream news, they say 15 points. In battleground states, he's 10 to 15 points ahead. With dead people out of district, that's not enough. Maybe they can steal a 5-point lead. You can't steal a 10-point lead. You can't steal a 15-point lead. So even in New York, he's now in play. Places like Michigan, 10 points ahead. Pennsylvania, 10 points ahead. Georgia, 15 points ahead. Arizona, 15 points ahead. They can't steal that. So they're in total collapse. They're trying to remove Biden. So you change the subject by killing Trump, and then who is the nominee 1 week before he goes to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the RNC. So now that they shot at the king and missed, and he's even more popular and they're more desperate, as I said 3 years ago, as Tucker said years ago, as I've said on air, and as I personally told Trump, I'll leave it at that. I said, sir, 6 months ago, I said, you are on a trajectory where you've beaten all this. The next thing is assassination. That's why he has the Secret Service. To act like that isn't an issue. Remember, Forbes was saying last night, there was an incident, a backfire of a car or something. They were, shut that down, guys. So they are literally trying to sell you that none of this happened, that there wasn't even assassination. They tried that for like 6-7 hours yesterday, showing you how incredibly disgusting all this is and how the fix is in. So I told you literally like a parrot on methamphetamine what was going to happen in the last couple of years. Now let me tell you the rest of the moves the deep state has.
Please.
He's trying to pull the troops out. Thank you. He's trying to pull the troops out of Ukraine. The U.S. funds 83% of the funding that's public. Trump, people say, oh, Trump can't kill this. He can't stop this. The hell he can't. He's the commander in chief. So Kennedy tried to pull out the troops. He pulled out 100,000 and he was dead a month later in 63. So here's what the deep state needs to do. Everybody's against him. The whole world's waking up to him. They want to kill, I'll be very slow here. They want to kill Trump now even more because this just gave him 20 points. He's not, all these Democrats that are now voting Trump, he's not going to win by 10 points. He's going to win by 30 points. This is a major political realignment. He got shot in the side of the head, perfect hole right through his ear, quarter inch over, right in the temple. This is so epic. So what is the deep state going to do? I study clandestine operations. I study all this stuff. I had a lot of family worked in this, and I'm not talking about pencil pushing areas of government. I'm talking about overthrow of government people, okay? And they told me all this stuff when I was a kid. So here's what's going to go down. They've got, the deep state has truck bombs loaded in Florida. They have truck bombs, in my opinion, loaded in Wisconsin. And if they don't block the roads off a half mile from Mar-a-Lago with serious concrete dividers, if they don't block off Wisconsin, which Trump said, screw it, I'm going there tomorrow. If they don't do that, the next move is roll a truck full of plastic explosives into the event. They're also going to try to poison him. They got people inside his organization. So poisoning, truck bombs, shootings is all in the works. Also, they've been pre-programming cyber attacks by the Russians, claiming they're working with Trump supporters. The FBI already put out reports last year saying the Russians working with Trump supporters are going to cut the U.S. power off. No, the desperate deep state. So cyber attacks, power outages, truck bomb attacks, but it gets worse. They will also, and this is totally,
I love how you go, you go truck bombs, power outages, and then you go, and it gets worse. Like, it's crazy to think about getting it. And I understand what you're saying. It's so wild to think about this. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I want to be 1,000,000,000% clear.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for sensational reasons.
No, for sure.
Okay. I want to be all I do is study this. So this is the normal threat continuum. So on the ladder, indictments, civil stuff, garbage, impeachments, take them off the ballot. And so next is assassination. So if you're a deep state and you shoot at the king, you miss, what's next? You don't just try to blow the king up with a truck bomb. You don't just try to poison his food. That's just standard procedure in history. You then attack black churches, black colleges with truck bombs or mass shooters. But a truck bomb is great when you're desperate because you don't even have to wind up a shooter. You just do it and claim a Trump supporter did it. So they have already said, Senator Blumenthal that's run the attacks on me and others have said, they've introduced legislation that when he's president-elect, because it's not just 112 days of the election, or 113. It's that in that 79 days from the early November to January 20th, when he gets inaugurated, that 79 days, the Democrats have said there's going to be massive civil unrest. And when Trump tries to call up the National Guard under the Insurrection Act, they've introduced a bill to strip him of that power, which is a coup against the executive. So they've already, I go on for hours. They've pre-programmed all of this where they're going to stage attacks on black people. That's all pre-programmed, all the shows, all the movies, everything. Say Trump supporters are behind it. And they believe that will trump, pun intended, everything Trump is saying, everything Trump is doing. So
you think they'll try to start some type of race war or massive civil unrest based on like a false flag attack that's may not be an assassination, but is just to destabilize the public and to just introduce chaos into the process?
Yeah, let's be clear, Tim. I don't think I know.
Right.
You have to understand, there's a Rand Corporation 34-step ladder they've had since the 50s that's been updated that shows how nuclear war starts. We're at like 29 in Ukraine.
Right.
So this stuff has all been ridiculously wargamed. So it's not that I'm that smart. I know about Operation Gladio when the Russians took over most of Europe. the West staged terror attacks, and I hate the communists. I mean, I had family involved in Gladio. Let's say on the periphery. I'll leave it at that. So the point is, I know about all this. Like if your dad's a mechanic, you know how to fix a diesel engine. Okay, so I know about this stuff. So the West had stay-behind networks when the Russians took over part of Eastern Europe and part of Western Europe, like Germany, East Germany. They had groups that staged terror attacks to blame on the Russians. And the Russians did similar stuff, but the West was so good at it with Hollywood, the media, Operation Gladio. So this is Gladio 2.0. They just shot the Slovakian president 5 times. He lived. They're trying to kill Viktor Orban. He's trying to stop World War III. We are in direct war with Russia. And Trump is saying the military-industrial complex, I'm not doing that. This is stupid for business. He doesn't feel powerful killing people. He doesn't think war is sexy because he's not a pussy. So I'm telling you, the default is truck bombs, poison Trump, shoot him if they can, and then separately stage terror attacks against the pre-programming's there. It's black people. They're going to hit black people with massive terror attacks. I mean, we may have hundreds dead at a church, hundreds dead at a college, and they're going to say a Trump supporter did it. Now, that's their next move. Do they got the guts to pull it? I think they do.
What is your read on what happened with Biden? What is happening with Biden? What is happening in the Democratic Party? What do you think is going on since that debate? What do you feel like is happening, and what do you think ends up happening with him?
Well, I got banned twice. They first banned me 6 years ago, then 4 years ago. I'm not trying to write myself a story. It's just true. 12 people, the headline was, labeled as dangerous persons by Facebook. And Louis Farrakhan, myself, 2 of my reporters, 12 people were listed as dangerous persons. And they said, people can look this up. It doesn't sound real, folks. I swear to God, it's real. Look it up. You just look up 12 people banned under dangerous persons by Facebook. And it said, you're allowed to call for violence against these 12 evil people because they're so bad, they're so dangerous, they're so evil. We had lawyers call them. They took it down after a month. It was insane. But people saw the rules of service. They said, well, we're going to kill you. They came to my office. I had to get security, it's been insane. Now, the reason I raised that is, what was your first? I went down a rabbit hole.
About Biden and about what do you think is going to happen and what's your read on that? I mean, that's obviously this terrible story that happened to Trump. But before that, the big story was, Biden being a corpse.
Out of his mind. So I remember now.
Yeah.
Why did they ban me? Look it up. I said Biden's had multiple strokes. Biden has had all sorts of medical issues. And so he is out of his mind. He is completely crazy. He needs to not run. So this is right when he was running. That's their excuse. And that's why they took me off the internet, was saying 5-6 years ago that he was out of his mind. So that's their only, move. And Biden has had multiple brain surgeries. Biden is completely out of his mind. He can't operate after 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so they don't know what to do. And so because they waited so long, they don't have runway to replace him now. Congressionally and constitutionally, he has the $90+ million the DNC has. Kamala Harris has it. So they waited so long. He was supposed to already step down. Because he won't step down, they don't have a way to make him step down. And so out of pure panic, they're like, my God, Trump's 20 points ahead. What do? We kill him. We kill Trump. And so that's what's happening is that Biden has no idea what he's doing. He is completely living on another planet. And so that's why I'm trying to explain to people, we are in a constitutional, total and complete crisis. Okay?
I've talked to more people, over the last few days, like you said, that are really panicked, and they're not people that you would think, right? I mean, these are, very successful people. They are smart people, and they feel like we're in a complete, we're spiraling out of control, and they look at this attempt at Trump's life, and it's terrifies people. And by the way, these are not hysterics. These are not people that they ignored a lot of stuff up until this point, but I'm sure you've talked to some of them too that are texting me. Liberals, Alex, liberals, Democrats are texting me going, what the fuck is going on? It's not just conservatives. Liberals are going, I'm panicked. What is this?
Well, exactly, Tim, that's such an important thing to say. I want to be clear to all the people out there. I was arrested by George W. Bush.
Right.
I'm a classical liberal. Everybody knows that who's followed me. Okay? I hated George Bush. I protested the war. Democrats used to be overall better than Republicans until Obama came along and, he said, I'm really good at killing people with drones. And so the Democratic Party is now owned by BlackRock. They're owned by the big banks. The Republicans are just as bad, except Trump and our libertarian movement got a beachhead to Ron Paul, who started all this, and Rand Paul in the Republican Party. So our beachhead has taken over about 55% right now. That's why they're panicked, Republican Party. Because once we get full control of one party, we can reform the other. We need a debate. We need a discussion. My God, the Democratic Party used to be against the CIA and against wars and against surveillance and against censorship. Now they love it.
They love it.
And so they love it. So my thing to liberals is, listen, guys, I'm not some ultra right-wing guy that wants to put you in jail because you're gay or whatever. That is all a lie, folks. And Trump's not that. Trump is a casino and hotel and golf course owner. And he's a hospitality guy. And he's all about what makes money for people makes him money. He's all about good times, man. Trump is all about good times. He's optimistic. He wants to have prosperity. He wants to bring jobs back. And the globalists want austerity to consolidate power under the central bank digital currency, under the ESGs, under the social credit score. So that's why they're mad at Trump, is he went to China and said, half the money goes to middlemen. China loved him, actually, at the end. He said, you can keep the money and we get half of it to our workers. So Trump is literally in the people's corner in that he is a hotel owner,
right,
a casino owner, and he wants money.
Dallas Alexander is a 14-year veteran of the Canadian unit, the world's longest confirmed kills, has come forward and said that the place where it happened is the most obvious place to check. It is effing obvious risk. He is floored that the Secret Service agency didn't clear it beforehand, and he goes into much more detail. I want you to hear it from him, and I'm going to show you some of the maps he's talking about as he breaks this down in his post. I'm a retired sniper, so because I've been asked so many times, here's my opinion on the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Here it is.
Yo, good morning. I keep getting asked about this, so I'm just going to let you know my opinion. I am talking about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And I know everyone's going to have some crazy opinion. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. It's going to be very wild for the next little while. But just if you don't know me or are new to this page, I spent just about 17 years in the military, just about 14 of which were at Tier 1 Special Operations Unit called JTF-2. Our sniper team has the world record for the longest confirmed sniper kill. And a huge part of our job while I was there and while I was a sniper was doing close protection for VIPs up to and including the Prime Minister when he would go to dangerous countries like Iraq or Afghanistan. We would be in charge of that security. So I'm very familiar with
He's experienced is what he's trying to tell y'all, and I believe it.
The layout of these types of things and what the jobs should be. And yesterday, what happened, I have no doubts in my mind that the shooter had help from somewhere within an agency, an organization, or the government. The second I saw that aerial photo of what they were saying happened, it immediately made no sense to me. You cannot, in broad daylight, get onto a rooftop within, it looked like maybe a couple hundred yards, if that. You can't get into that position with a gun when there's a president speaking. It cannot be done. It's not like you don't even need to be a sniper to know that it's the most fucking obvious thing, an obvious place in the whole world You could be a 7th grader. Like, what do we need to do for security here? Well, let's look at these rooftops that are almost within zeroing range of a rifle. So it's something happened, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. It's too obvious that this guy had help getting there. So whether it's someone turned a blind eye or it was strategically planned, I mean, it had to be planned to a certain level, because events like that and security like that, it's not a small thing. And that is the most obvious place to be. On top of that, I find it very strange that, you know, if the story that comes out is like, oh yeah, he snuck into position and he got set up and nobody saw him, it was an oversight in security and Overwatch and we just made a mistake, sorry. I think it's also very weird that if that's the case and someone is good enough to stalk within 150 to 200 yards of one of the hardest to stalk targets in the whole world, you're not going to miss a shot. You're not going to miss that shot. Like, if you have the skill set to get in there, avoiding all of these security, all the different layers of security, then you will have the skill set to hit that first round. It doesn't make any sense. So my opinion is, and whether this comes out now or way later, is that this guy had help from somewhere. And I think it's obviously concerning. It's going to be wild. I think it's all you're going to see for the next little while. Anyway, just because I keep getting asked, that's my 2 cents.
Well, I'm glad he gave us the 2 cents, because he obviously knows a little bit more than the rest of us do. And that's where I want to go to this next piece of evidence. Here is the time that was taken. A lot of people have compiled this footage of this of the incident. And I want to play it for you so you can see it and echo what he just said. And I may do another video and mention this clip a lot because it's very helpful. But I want you to see how much time Secret Service had before the shot went off, and they knew.
He was doing his job. I wouldn't even be doing this. It's a beautiful place with the gorgeous ocean. The
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look.
They
There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And still I'm here with you
How did
fighting
he miss
hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
Civilians
And just
noticing
make
it.
sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There
not
he is.
easy, because
Officers have been alerted. Look how the seconds are going by as he's inching around on that roof, sneaking in place.
We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We have the strongest border ever. In recorded history, we're the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring, I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right?
Look how
So
much
that's where
time
I
has
left
passed.
office. That
Still
was
nothing.
the lowest point, and that comes right from the
He's now
government
able to aim,
services.
get in place.
Comes right out of Border Patrol.
And I want you to again, I'm pausing the time, pausing the clock, as he just eloquently sort of pointed out to all of us, look at this image again. You got a sniper on this roof. Where else is he checking? Like, hello? Elevated rooftop from 430 feet away right here. What's going on? What? How did this get missed?
Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And
look at the time going by.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit over that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that says, look at what happened.
At that point, now you see 2 minutes in. 2 minutes in. I don't understand what happened here. I don't know what happened here. I'm not trying to say one way or the other. I don't know. I don't like this idea of calling it staged. I think that's just so too far gone. Someone actually has lost their life. I don't believe they would have whizzed a bullet by on purpose. But when people say staged, I can't be so mad in that someone else was involved in this. Something else must have been involved. How else do you miss this? How else do you have them in your sights so long and do nothing? I guess there's reports saying they were waiting for clearance to take them out, in which case I guess maybe. And then it was at that point, once a shot was fired, they took him out because they somehow saw him. They were aimed there, but didn't do anything until he actually did something. I just find that shocking that they would take this long of a risk. Now, again, this could just be complete ineptitude, even as he sort of implied. And we're getting reports that this guy, the shooter, I don't know if it's true, but there's reports now that he couldn't get into the shooting club at school because he was such a bad shot. What do you think? Am I crazy and starting to get worried about what the heck is happening here? How did they miss it?
Just found out about this shit. It just happened. I haven't even had a second to process. You're telling me somebody finally had the balls to bring a pew-pew, and he missed! We were a second away! We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed! There was a white man attached to that trigger. I know it! We were a centimeter away! Oh!
Things, and I look at different videos where an assailant will pull a firearm on a law enforcement officer, and the first thing they do is they immediately pull and draw and mitigate the threat and the risk. You know, I ask why the local law enforcement officer did not do so. The other thing is that when you set up an advance team, I keep hearing this about the perimeter elements.
Yeah.
You know, the perimeter is actually established by your threats that are in the area. So if I don't have any threats outside of 100 yards, okay, fine, I can cordon off a certain area. But if I have a building 160 yards perfectly adjacent to the stage, that's an obvious threat, especially with an elevated position that has overwatch. That's a sniper's paradise. And, you know, we talk about Eagle's Nest. You also have, which no one talks about, but the water tower.
So what I'm hearing from you is it's not a failure on the ground for sure, but 100%. Also a failure in advance?
I think it's a failure in advance. I think it's a failure to have the counter snipers to be able to establish their rangefinder and their sketch maps.
I also heard we've also learned that local snipers were stationed inside that building.
I haven't heard that piece of it yet, but that doesn't necessarily make sense unless they were actually in a window which was backed off, because a lot of times you'll get yourself in there. Sometimes you expose your rifle in a way to try and do a force protection or a show of force that actually stops things. Others are actually more tactical where they'll sit back a little bit, but a sniper for the law enforcement is only trained to shoot about 75 yards, unlike your counter sniper teams that are on set. But here's my problem. In having done this for so long, they always say the adage of ignorance is bliss, and I think that's true. I've done thousands of advances. I've done thousands of counter sniper operations with our teams in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. The amount of negligence, the amount of mistakes that was made here, I have a very difficult time not leaning myself towards this was intentional as opposed to fecklessness.
But wait, talk to me about that. I actually heard you say this right the day after, which I wanted to ask you about. What do you mean intentional?
You know,
I mean an intentional failure on the part of...
No, I wouldn't say an intentional failure on the part of, but I got to just, I sit here and I scratch my head, and you don't want to be the conspiracist. You don't want to be the person.
I'm telling you, because that's what it's leaning toward.
No, I know, and that's the issue, is that you walk this fine balance of, you're not trying to be a conspiracist, but you look at it and you go, how could this have gone so...
But it's one thing if someone on the street says it. It's not. I mean, you, Corn Mills, member of Congress, former sniper, you saying it. I mean, it makes my eyebrows go up. When you say you're walking the line on this, intentional what?
You know, it almost seems to me, and I think that an investigation is necessary at this point within Congress, not just the FBI, not just others. You know, I look back at it and I'm thinking, all right, for an individual, if you looked at the escalations and how they are trying to approach him, let's just say that it was like, okay, first we want to censor and silence you, then we want to indict and imprison you. Now we're attempting to kill you and take you off the stage.
Whoa. You, let's slow down.
Please.
I'm hearing two things from you. I don't want to jump ahead of things, but I'm also hearing you jumping ahead of things.
Well, actually, I'm just looking at all the different possible capabilities. You know, one of the things as a military member, one of the things as a person who's run in the special operations communities before, one of the people who's actually done this is that you look at all potential analysis, right?
Donald Trump and his team have said, do not,
no, I agree.
Dial it back. Do not blame this on Joe Biden.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't say Joe Biden, to be completely
Who's the
clear.
they then? Let's be very specific.
Well, that's what the investigation has to do. Was it local local law enforcement that had made the mistakes, or was there something to it? Was there other types of things that we need to be analyzing or looking at and providing analysis? My point is that when something's so significant, you're talking about something that hasn't happened in decades, right?
I totally.
But my point is this: from a perspective of someone who's actually conducted these are not difficult advances. This is not like I'm putting together a stage placement and a tight shot. This is about looking at your surroundings. What is my green, yellow, and red route, which is your routes out in case? What is my actual elements that I need to be looking at as far as mitigating threats or risks or increased levels? Where's my range fan for the sniper that says, okay, here's my 100, my 200, my sketch. Here's an area where someone could shoot. Because here's my thing.
So you're
Let's
saying,
just say it's a
wait,
Royce element.
You're saying this is so basic that how big the screw up was, that's what's leading your brain down this
That's
road?
exactly right, in a way.
Look,
but because here's the other thing. Let's just say it's a resource.
Tom Emmer was just on with me, and he said very specifically to me, I wrote it down. He said very clearly, it is too early to be talking about who is at fault and who is responsible.
That's why an investigation is necessary.
Is it not dangerous? Is it not reckless to even be throwing around the word intentionally?
So to question things as we do an investigation is recklessness, because at that point, then should we never question anything? My point is this.
I'm not trying to be PC. My point is, in the political environment that we are in.
What would it have taken, right? Let's just say that resources was limited. Let's go with that as a reasoning. So how many times have you seen where they just put a police car inside of a parking lot with not an officer in it and just leave the lights on as a deterrent? Why couldn't that have been a simple thing that was placed in? Why couldn't we have said to the owner of the actual AGR company, hey, look, we don't want to disrupt your business, but we also want to make sure your parking lot is clear of people trying to park in there for the rally. Why don't we place an officer there? My point is that this was too easy of a solution. And when I think about 160
I'm just so uncomfortable with even having
I'm uncomfortable with having to say it. Trust me, my whole point is that I would like to look at this and say, where was the mistake made? How can we correct it in the future? Why was this actually done? But I think that this does warrant a J13 type commission where we can actually look at it and say, let's investigate and find out why this happened so it doesn't happen to anyone. This is not about a political thing. This is about we had an attempt to assassinate a president. We really need to understand.
You had one job. Whoever that was, I can't say it because I don't want no problems. But you had one fucking job and you missed. Thanks a fucking lot. You had one job and you missed. You had one fucking job, ma'am, and you fucking missed.
To what this bystander had to say.
Someone who was here, you weren't inside the event, but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw.
So we had a party here all day. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, you know, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
It's incredibly shocking.
The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof right there.
Did you get a look at him? Could you?
No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure. No, I mean, it was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know, I wasn't close enough to read the label on it, but
sure. But
it was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you process what you've just seen?
I don't know what to say, man. All I'll tell you is, if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof. Yes, right there by that tree. We were outside the security perimeter. But my question is, there's only a few buildings around here. Why is Secret Service not on every building here?
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions, I think, that are going to come.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
He is all of us. He didn't want to say it, but he did say it. This is fishy, okay? This is not an accident. This isn't an intelligence failure, okay? This was allowed to take place because they have wanted Trump out by any means necessary. And these are one of the means now, okay? And I don't believe, by the way, this is going to be the last assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I don't believe that whatsoever, because I've been feeling it. I've had a feeling that things are growing more sinister because they're losing control. More people are starting to wake up. More people are starting to realize that all the things that they believed to be conspiracy theories in the past are in fact true. We are fighting real evil in this country. We're fighting real evil all over the world. And so the media is doing everything desperate to maintain control and to maintain order. And in their desperation, they are growing increasingly more violent, increasingly more sinister, increasingly more...
On his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking... People say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and there things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election.
To the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across, Trump turned his head, his ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day, who was running for the State House Representative, Elmore, I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there were several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his... He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely, because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them or tried to get them help or something. It was covered. So I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Aaron, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. And then we were just so concerned that he wasn't hit because we couldn't. It happens so fast, it's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. What I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, I mean, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. I mean, what is up with his violence? I mean, it's just terrible. I just wish that people that, I'm glad that guy's no longer with us anymore in that tower. And I hope they get the other one too. And I hope they don't nick them. I hope they get it.
I suspect you have the same question.
Your suspicions would be correct. As a retired agent, I can tell you I did advanced work like that on numerous occasions, so many occasions I can't count. And I was just speaking with several agents just yesterday about this advance in particular, and I was kind of sort of reminiscing on some that I've done in the past. And prior to President Trump getting there, there were what's known as walkthroughs, and that's where the site advance agent, the second supervisor, the other post-standing agents literally walk the steps that President Trump was to walk on the day of the event. I can't tell you how many times I've done that exact type of mission, and where myself and other agents have stood at that podium and had the opportunity to look out on where that crowd would have been and see that rooftop as well as other areas of concern. That said, I find it impossible to believe that a Secret Service agent, a supervisor, no one did not notice that site needed to, that area needed to be covered. So I know it's still preliminarily in the investigation. I don't want to say whether it was covered by an officer or an agent, or it should have been and that person wasn't there. But absolutely, it should have been covered and would have been covered in any other circumstance.
We always say hindsight's 20/20, but as an expert who's looking at the situation, can you clearly see security failures here and things like you said, the rooftop being secured, having someone posted there, but anything else that stood out to you?
Well, there are several things. Like I said, I don't like to armchair quarterback. I wasn't there. There will be plenty of time to analyze the film footage, to analyze all the single shots that were taken, and re-listen to the audio. So there's a lot of responsibility out there. I will say right now that the rooftops, the overhangs, that really does concern me, that wasn't covered, or if it was covered, it obviously was not covered correctly, and it led to this, for lack of better expression, tragic failure.
We saw the professionalism of the agents on the ground and the Secret Service counter snipers who killed that assassin almost immediately after the shooting. And I remember seeing those folks during my rotations working at the White House. They'd be walking back and forth on the roof, they're uniformed, they'd carry big bags. And one thing that I noticed that they always had was binoculars. And I'm guessing that these folks would have had binoculars. They certainly appear to have them and would certainly be able to see through the scopes. And I was just wondering, would they have been scanning, is it the crowd or the rooftops, or at what point should they have, or would they have seen this assassin 400 feet away?
They should have seen it almost immediately, if not immediately. I think the tragedy of it all is that this rooftop should have been manned. It should have been what we call posted. When you're that far out from the event, generally speaking, that area should have probably, I would have posted it with the police officer. I would have posted it with the local officer. At minimum and at maximum, posted with a special agent from the Secret Service. As far as the snipers, it's my understanding that they were already familiar with that rooftop, so their attention would have been drawn to it almost immediately, if not immediately upon the shots being fired.
After something like this, what kind of internal assessment is underway right now at the U.S. Secret Service? What will change, if anything, as we look ahead when it comes to security? Republican National Convention kicking off today in Milwaukee, and then how, candidates campaign during the rest of this presidential election cycle. What could and would change?
I would suspect some leadership changes. I would suspect some reinforcement of training, and I would suspect some significant policy changes as well. We saw this during President Obama's term in office when there was a fence jumper who got into the White House. There were dramatic changes. And that, of course, was not nearly as tragic as this event. So I would imagine even more changes are to come, more so than what happened then.
Well, former Secret Service agent Christopher McClinic, we're grateful for your insight, because it's one thing for us to look from the outside and try to figure this out. You've been on the inside and can really give us the guidance to help us understand what we're seeing. So thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
The Secret Service have now released their preliminary report and admitted that in Butler, Pennsylvania, for 26 minutes, I'd said a couple minutes for videos I'd seen, the shooter was on top of the roof. Police went up to see, he aimed a gun at them, and they ran away and asked permission of what to do. This is a paralyzed government of bureaucrats. Nobody on the roof. So this is a Secret Service stand down, 110%. AP, Reuters, all reporting like it's no big deal. 26 minutes. This guy is on top of this roof with no one there, with the president 450 feet away so he can shoot him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is insane. This is next level. This is a Secret Service stand down. And now that they failed to kill Trump, they're going to go for broke. But it's now confirmed there was a stand down. That whole building was full of police sitting around eating McDonald's or whatever, because they weren't directed to be anywhere, like on a roof while the president's speaking. I am stunned by this coming out so quickly. This totally proves the stand down, and it just shows Trump's entire details infiltrated. They're totally controlled. This wasn't Secret Service idiocy. This wasn't Secret Service being fools. This wasn't negligence. This was orders to do this. And I interviewed the former advance team head for Trump of over 300 events going back 4 years ago. And he said he talked to Secret Service. They were told no support on the rooftops, no glass around Trump, no nothing. So we have them now, ladies and gentlemen. This is smoking gun, pun intended, information.
That's just one angle from one cell phone. FBI sources, they say they are looking through multiple different cell phone videos, multiple different angles to try to put together the timeline before this happened. Bill, as you mentioned, 100 people, more than 100 people interviewed, and Fox News can report this morning. One of those is that local police officer that went up to the roof, saw crooks armed, and then retreated away, only to hear the gunshots just seconds later. That's when President Trump was hit. That's when Corey Compatore was killed and 2 others were injured. Right now in Quantico, Virginia, not far from Washington, D.C., the FBI pouring through his cell phone, pouring through Crooks' cell phone. Who was he talking to? pictures, videos, emails. They want to know if other people may have known about this plan. This investigation certainly is far from over. This morning, FBI agents were on scene at the AGR building. That's the building where Crooks stood on the roof. That's in Butler. That's very close to the site, obviously. That's where he fired his AR-15 style rifle, according to police. Employees are back at work for the first time today since that shooting. Sources tell Fox the building where he stood was outside the perimeter. It was a responsibility of local authorities, and we reported first yesterday local police used it as a staging ground. Police were actually near or even in the building and still missed the suspect on the roof. Still, the Secret Service under increasing pressure to explain. Director Kimberly Cheadle expected to meet virtually with lawmakers in a few hours to answer for the deadly mistake. Yesterday, FBI agents walked in and out of Crooks' home south of Pittsburgh. Explosive material found in his home and what appears to be IEDs in his car, also at the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, along with his laptop and cell phone, as I mentioned. The Crooks family, is cooperating with authorities. The gun was bought legally in 2013 by Crooks' father, an AR-style rifle. Authorities found more than a dozen guns in the home. Fox News has told Crooks bought multiple rounds of ammunition before Saturday's shooting. He also belonged to a local firing range. The site of the shooting, still a crime scene. Now, police were told that they saw a suspicious person in and around the magnetometers before the rally began. It turns out that person was Crooks. So many questions. Those questions we will hear posed to Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle. She's meeting virtually today with lawmakers, but next Monday she will appear before the House Oversight Committee, and expect intense questions and a lot of criticism from both sides of the aisle. She said in an interview last night she will not step down, but the buck does stop with her. Phil Dana.
So all that, we'll play more of that for you coming up here. Seems like almost he was hiding in plain sight. David Spun, thank you. Back on that investigation today. Thanks.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News
Let's
YouTube.
Get into this piece coming in from ABC News. Let's hear what they have to say.
We continue here with the news tonight. There are fast-moving developments after the assassination attempt tonight. Remarkable new images here. The alleged gunman seen climbing to the roof just minutes before opening fire at that rally. You can actually hear people in the crowd yelling to an officer, pointing him out. And now we learn that law enforcement was actually using that building as a staging area, and how the gunman climbed onto the roof, the wall outside that building. And ABC's Pierre Thomas tonight with the exclusive interview with the head of the Secret Service and what she's saying now.
So now, just so we're clear, ABC News is all reporting the same thing we've been reporting for days and I've been getting flack for, but something has been fishy. I've never said this was staged. I don't know what it is. Something was off. And I agree with Dallas. You're going to hear from him later. This is worse than just bad Secret Service agents. No. How do you mess up this bad? How can you be this bad? Watch.
Stunning new video tonight showing the moment Donald Trump's would-be assassin climbed onto the roof of that building just 2 minutes before he opened fire.
Yeah, look, there he is.
You can hear bystanders desperately trying to alert police. Authorities now using that video as part of the investigation. And tonight, ABC News has learned that heavily armed local police were stationed inside that building and missed Thomas Crooks climbing up the outside of the building to the roof. The same building was being used as a staging area for local police, according to 2 law enforcement officials. And Butler Township officials are confirming ABC News' reporting that a local police officer climbed up the roof and confronted Brooks moments before the shooting.
The officer grabbed hold of the edge of the building, pulled himself up to be able to look, and according to what he's told me, shooter turned, rifle was pointed at the officer. The officer, defensive move, kind of ducked, fell, lost his grip on the building.
Investigators tonight trying to determine whether
the officer saw him, fell down and ran away, allowing the shooter to get, 7-8 shots off? Was it 5 shots? Sorry, but too many off. And this officer didn't stop him and knew. And at that point, they all know. How did this happen?
Roof access had been properly locked down. The shooter climbing seemingly unimpeded, about 400 feet from the stage, with a direct line of sight on the former president.
What? Look at this breakdown. I haven't seen it like this before, and we're going to show Dallas this later. How on earth do you not secure this building? There's officers in the building, and they didn't secure it. How did he get a ladder on this? Guys, it's even crazier. As the shooter went to a store and bought a ladder. As this is reported, investigators believe he used his newly bought ladder to scale the nearby building before he opened fire on the former president. Like, what? This is insanity. This is absolute insanity.
Take a look at what happened.
In Washington, lawmakers demanding answers, calling on the Secret Service director to appear before Congress. We sat down with Director Kim Cheadle today for an exclusive interview.
What was your reaction when you saw the events unfold on Saturday?
Shock, and then concern, obviously, for the former president. This is an event that should have never happened.
Dude, it's your only job is to secure him.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
The President and Homeland Security Secretary said today they had 100% confidence in you, but there are some members of Congress calling on you to resign.
I appreciate the Secretary's comments, and we're going to continue to be transparent and communicate with people.
You plan to stay on, absolutely.
I do plan to stay on.
Director Cheadle says she will not wait on an independent review of the security failure. She says she plans to make immediate changes. We learned today she's already expanded the tactical or SWAT support for former President Trump.
Now, I've seen Dallas already comment on this. He's like, that doesn't...
Assassination. Can I get your reaction to what happened the other day?
Well, it's a shame the person missed, but it's ironic that the shooter was also a Republican, and I am scared about political violence.
You're scared of political violence, but you were hoping that he wouldn't have missed.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm only soft when I like somebody. The rest of y'all get this gangster shit, bitch.